Hello, good evening and welcome to the conversation here on ETV Ghana. My name is Ohene Bampobenyo. Of course, this show gives us an opportunity to sit with, sports personalities. We know them for their, talent and of course managing sport at various levels. But of course, on this show, we get to see other sides we ordinarily not see, their family life, their upbringing, their professional lives and all. And of course, this show brings many, many dimensions to their personalities. Some have lived their lives on the court, some in the boardrooms. Here, we get to talk about not just their talent and also managing sport, but also family life, professional life, and many others. My guest here on the conversation is someone who is no stranger on our screens. She was part of our World Cup coverage, but we get to talk about not just football, but everything else about her life. She is a HR professional, worked with many other companies, also loves football, loves two great clubs. I call them great, yes. Arsenal Football Club. And I'll ask her take on whether indeed they will win the Premier League this year or not. Also, support Kumasi Asante Kotoko, who is my guest on the conversation tonight. I'll go for a quick break and I'll be back and introduce her to you. Madame Hilary Boaten, Boaten without a G, yes. She's my guest on the conversation here on ETV Ghana. And as you would know, she is the chairperson of the Women's League Board here in Ghana. Under her tenure, the Women's Premier League has seen many developments. The league is on TV now. They have many sponsorship. And under her watch, Azaka's ladies played in the first ever, Women's Champions League and came, out with a silver medal. So yes, she's done considerably well for herself, and also we will talk about her upbringing and many other parts of her life. Madam Hilary Boaten, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Ohene.
It's always a pleasure to talk to you.
Absolutely, always a pleasure to be on ETV.
Of course, I remember our first conversation was at a mutual friend's wedding. I really enjoyed that conversation. I'll remind you later on the show.
Please do.
But of course, we know you are someone who loves football. If you follow her on social media, she comments a lot about Arsenal. You know that. But there are sides to you we don't know. Obviously, we'll start from your upbringing. Yeah. Where did you grow up? Where were you born? Your family life and all that.
Okay. Thank you, Ohene. And so I was born in Accra, Kolebu, to be precise. In the 80s. I don't want to disclose the year.
Women don't tell their age, right?
Yes, and I was, so when I was born, my parents lived in Dansoman. And so from there, I grew up, I think I was around 5 years when we moved from Dansoman to Atomic Junction, which is around Medina, where we lived for another 10, I'll probably say 10, 15 years, and then we moved to East Legon. And so I've lived my life in Accra. Wow. I was born in Accra. I'm the first of 4 siblings, three girls and 1 boy. The funny thing is the boy is a footballer as well. I'll tell you about him later. He's in Spain currently. So yeah, you will hear about him soon because he's a top footballer. Wow. And my sisters and I, so the one right after me is just 18 months younger, and so we were really close because we did a lot of things together. Almost because like our age exactly. Yeah. We were quite close in age, so yes. And then the third one, there was a bit of a gap before she came, and then there was even a longer gap before the boy came. I think my parents really wanted a boy, so yes. Unfortunately, my dad is late. He passed in 2017. May his soul rest in peace. He's one of the reasons why I think I love football so much, because he was a Newcastle supporter. Oh. Really, really strong Newcastle through and through from Sir Bob Robson's time, and then that was his favorite player. And then for some reason, just before Arsene Wenger joined Arsenal, he started roping me into football because he had noticed one thing about me, that even though I was obviously a girl, right from school, I was someone who was really into sport, and I was really close to the boys more than the girls. And after school, I'll come home take off my school uniform, and the next thing you see me on bicycles with the guys in the area. So I think he noticed that about me, and rather than maybe dissuade me from, you know,
he encouraged it.
He rather encouraged it. He saw that, okay, my daughter is really into football. She really likes sports. Let me encourage it rather than say, oh, you're not supposed to be with boys or playing football. And so at a really young age, right from primary school, if you speak to my mates from Northridge Lyceum, I started playing football, I think at the age of, from class 5 up until JSS. So in our school team, the female school team, I was actually a striker. I used to play number 10, and yes, so it's right from infancy. I loved football, and my uncles, that's my dad's brothers, also encouraged it by taking me to the stadium. So I started watching a lot of Hearts Kotoko matches right from when I was young, because my house was full of Kotoko supporters, my uncles, and so they would go to the stadium and they would take me along, and I really enjoyed it. And so my love for football has been from that age. And so when I started getting into Arsenal, my backbone also, because we were always making noise. My dad and I were, you know, the Arsene Wenger era was when Arsenal really became. And so at that point, I said, look, this is a really good team. I really want to support them, even though my dad was still Newcastle. His second team now became Arsenal. And then I developed the love from there. So I've supported Arsenal from when I think I was probably 12 years. 12, 13 years, and I've loved the team from then till now. And for Kotoko, even when I was younger, right? Because my dad was a Kotoko supporter. We are from BA, but they tended to support Kotoko versus the BA Uniteds then. And my mom is an Aduana supporter though. But apart from my mother, every other person in my family, my dad, my uncles, even my siblings, we are more affiliated to Kotoko, and I am a diehard Kotoko supporter right from the 90s, I think, yes.
I mean, being a firstborn always, of course, comes with pressure, you know. The first of 4. Yes. Tell us about the pressure of, you know, supporting the junior ones and also playing the bigger sister role.
Listen, Ohine, firstborns are not celebrated enough. Listen, I don't know what born you are, but when it comes to that whole firstborn thing, when I was younger, my pastor used to have days where he would pray for firstborns, and initially I didn't understand, but as I've grown and understood spiritual things more, I really embrace him and I appreciate him even more for that thing he used to do for firstborns. Listen, it's a lot of pressure. You become like a second mother automatically. You don't even notice it, but then even when there are issues amongst the siblings, any petty arguments and all that, they tend to come to you to make sure that it is resolved. Even my mother, in the absence of my dad now, she sort of runs to me when she wants, and she wants it to be resolved. And I'm always saying to her that, I mean, you are my mom, so you should be able to. But then she, for some reason, she relies a lot on my advice, on my counsel, and so far so good. I have siblings who are really understanding. Even when there are arguments, which normally happens among siblings, you quickly, so what I would do is I'll call them individually, the ones who are arguing, and then I'll speak to them on the side, and then they come together. We have a family platform, so we quickly regroup. And then my brother, like I said, is in Spain, you know, so everybody will send their side message with their own
side of the story.
Yes, with your side of the story. And then you have to now be the mature one and apply a lot of wisdom to make sure that you are settling it in a way where you are not siding with one as well. And it's really difficult.
Yeah.
But so far, so good. God gives us the strength. It's not easy.
Firstborns have a special place in heaven.
Yes.
So secondary school life, how was it, for you?
So secondary school, so I moved from football into athletics when I went to Wesley. So I attended Wesley Girls, myself and my other two siblings and sisters. We all attended, and the catch here is, so I did 4x400 for Wesley Girls at the Interco. And then my backbone was she actually set a record for 100 110 meters hurdle or just 100 hurdles. So she has her record there. I don't know if it's been broken now. The third one also ran for Gehe. So we are a family of sports girls. And then, like I told you, my brother is also, he has been a footballer right from his infancy as well. So
where did you pick this, athletics, side? Is it from your mom's side or your dad's side?
So it's a good question. I think both of them, because both of them were also sports people. So my mom played hockey. My dad played hockey. My mom also played volleyball, and I was also a very good volleyball player in primary and JSS. And so, yes, I think my mom even used to run. I think she was an athlete as well. If she's watching this, she'll be like, "You don't know I used to run." So, yeah, I think so. I took it from, they're both really strong sportsmen. And I think that's how they even met, through sports. And so, yeah, so I really come from a background. My uncle, who's in the US now, also was really good with volleyball. My auntie, who's in the UK, that's my mom's siblings. So they're all like sports people. My family on both sides, we really have some strong. I have a cousin in America now who does really good weightlifting. So I think in the coming years, we'll probably see her doing it, lifting weights for the United States, because she was born there, so she's already a citizen for them. But so yes, it runs in the family.
Wow, runs in the family, a full sports family. Yeah. You have there, three of them, all gay.
Yeah.
Sure, your house must be very fun. So I have three gay girls in the same house. That's really fun.
And again, it's the perks of the firstborn. Once I went to Gehe, and I used to come home. I used to come home with the stories. My father, well, they probably would say it was pressure, but then automatically they all had to pass and get into Gehe. Yes, because their sister. So immediately the second one also, when there was pressure on the third one to also pass. Yes, and God being so good, they all did. So yeah.
University of Ghana. How did you get yourself to University of Ghana?
So yes, so I entered uni in '99. Yes, and prior to entering uni, I did a bit of a stint with Radio Gold. Dr. Kwame Baniakon, who had before that pulled me into Kotoko stuff. So anytime he was traveling to Kumasi, he would come knock on my door, seek permission the night before from my dad. My dad will allow me to travel to Kumasi only if it was Kwame Baniakon. That one he would give him the approval. So Kwame would come seek approval and say there was an Africa Cup Champions League game. Oh yeah. Yes, and I think that was the Herbert era.
Yeah.
So we would
2000.
Yes, and so we would leave at dawn, myself, him, sometimes Fifi Banson, another friend of mine called Nowode, would drive or would go to Herbert's house. He would give us a van, and then we'll pick some supporters and drive, get there, watch the game, and then right after the game, we'll be on the way back to Accra.
That should be fun.
It was actually, there were times when Kwame has the stories, he'll tell you, he will be driving and we'll be feeding him kenke because we had to get to Accra. My father will be calling, "Are you guys coming?" As much as he knows Kwame is bringing me, he still wants to make sure that his daughter is coming. And so many stories when it comes to Kumasi Asante Kotoko, nostalgic times during the Herbert era, up until now, to be honest, all the way to May 9th and the incidents that occurred. Some of us were in there, in the mix of it.
We'll come to the main
yes,
story.
So that was during uni. Yeah, and so I was part of the Kumapim group on campus. Okay. Yes, and so
now famous Pokemon Tertiary.
Yes, and so this was the University of Ghana group, Legon group, where Leneka was the president, and then I was part of
the from Leneka.
I had a feeling you got it from here. So yes, on campus there was Dr. Patrick Ofori. He was a strong Kotoko boy, a good friend of mine as well, and a few others who were really into the Kotoko group on campus, where we evolved all the way to where we are now. So Kotoko has been with us and will continue to be with us. We have a whole, and again, my sisters also followed me to Legon. So I was in Saba Hall. My backbone also came to Saba. And then the third one actually did Legon Hall and then my brother also did Legon. So yes, we are a group of, we are all Legon. My dad also did Legon. My mom also did Legon, and Cape Verde as well. So yeah, we are all, we follow we follow the trend.
There's a tradition in the house.
Yes, there's tradition in the house.
So I'm sure you're not surprised when Kwame became a management member of Asante Kotoko.
Not at all. Not at all. When his appointment came, I where was I? But I think when I heard it, it was well deserved, if you ask me. He has Kotoko in his blood, and so yeah, it was an appointment that I think he deserved at that point. Yeah.
He's been in and out. Hopefully,
yes.
I'm sure he'll be back again managing
let's
the
see how
club
we go
in the future. But we'll go for a quick break. We'll be back to do more here on the show. All right, welcome back from the break. I'm in conversation with Madame Hilary Boaten, who is the chairperson of the Women's Premier League here in Ghana, also an HR professional or a practitioner here in Ghana. She has many sides. She's telling us about her upbringing, her Legon days, how she would go to the stadium and watch game. Interestingly, she was involved in the midnight. How did that happen? As you said earlier, it wasn't the first time you've been to the stadium. You've right from childhood. But how did this happen? Because I'm told many left the stadium even without knowing what really happened.
Yes.
Were you part of those who got home before they heard the news that something tragic has happened, or you were part of the people who were trapped there in the stadium at the time?
No. So I was there when things started happening, when people started dying. In fact, if you look at the stadium itself, I think Leneka, Kwame, and I were probably the last two people to leave the stadium. So what had happened was, I went with a friend who supported Hearts on campus, a very good friend of mine called Iris. If she's watching this, she remembers the story. So Iris and I went. We didn't join. So a few of our Kotoko friends also went, but we didn't join them. We took a cab and then we went. So when we got there, she joined the Hearts supporters, I think. Was that the Adekoka?
That's the Adekoka
Osu stand. And then I joined the Kotoko. My mates on campus saw me, and so they had found us. They already had the seats for me. So I joined the Kotoko side of the supporters. And obviously, we know what happened with the match. So right after the penalty was given to Ishmaelado, and the seats started flying out, and some were throwing stones. People started scattering because the tear gas had also started, and then obviously I also wanted to run. That was your first instinct, right? Because everyone was going, and my friends were like, "Hilary, let's go." Listen, thank God for Leneka, because I probably would have died, and I always say this story to people who ask me. At that point, when I got up to go, he just pulled me to sit down, and then I said, why is he doing that? Because everyone is leaving. He said, Tenase. So at that point, I listened to him because he was like my big brother. And then everyone ran out. So within about 20 minutes, the whole stadium went quiet. And then I was there. The tear gas was just...
How did you deal with the tear gas?
Yes, so he had his handkerchief. And then I think he had a sachet water. So what he did was he bit the sachet water, put the water in his hand, and then he put it on my face. So he was the one suffering. He protected me literally, and then he still told me to sit in it. And so we were in it. He said, "You are not going anywhere." And then I just, with the handkerchief on my face, I just started crying. But he said, "I know why I'm saying let's wait. Let's just wait."
But at the time, you guys had no idea what was
going on at the back. And he said, "People are rushing. So where are you going? Just wait. Yes, there's tear gas coming. Let me just protect you. I'll sit in it." And I was crying because here he was protecting me and he was enduring. And then I remember I had come with my friend. And so I was also thinking about her. And at that point, Iris is also the firstborn of her mother. Her father died a long time ago. So I was like, what is happening to her? I was thinking of all of that, and the fact that I hadn't told my parents I was coming to watch the game. And so, what is going on? How is this thing happening? And then, so we sat there until the whole place went quiet. The police obviously stopped the tear gas. People had scattered. And then Leneka said, "Now we can go." So it was when we were leaving that we saw...
Through the staircase. We saw the stampede and the blood.
We saw the stampede. listen, I said, God, Iris. So I was just telling, Lineker knew her as well. So I said, Lineker, but I came with Iris. So I can't leave. We have to make sure that. And so he said, when we get out, I'll come inside again and look for her. And then it was when I was standing there alone, Lineker had gone back in to look for Iris, that some of my friends were passing to say, Charlie, people are dead. This. I started crying again. I said, God, what is happening? And then at that point in time, I had a phone. You know, social media was not like it used to be.
It is now. Yeah.
Yes. So it was. So I stood there waiting for Iris to come. You see people either coming to say, listen, I can't find this person. I can't find this person. And I said, God, if I don't find Iris, how am I even going to her mother? You know. So I stood there. I think it was after about 20 minutes when I saw two guys, Lineker and another guy, holding her. She was literally, I think the tear gas had gone into her. They brought her outside. All I said was, thank you, Jesus. And then we looked for a taxi right there. We sat in, and she lived, her mom, they had a house in Osu. So we passed by the house, her mother's house. When we got there, the news had not gotten on radio yet. So her mother didn't know what was going on. So immediately we got there, we said, oh, we went to the stadium, but we were just passing by to see her. We are going back. So she didn't. It was when we were in the taxi almost at Legon that she called and said, are you people kidding me right now? So this
is what happened. This is what you guys are coming from.
This is what you guys, and what we didn't even tell her was Iris herself was involved because she came out with two guys, almost with the tear gas. We just said, Mom, we are fine. That is what is important. And then we all rushed, went upstairs. People knew I had gone to the stadium. So when the news broke that people had died, my parents started calling me, and I wasn't picking my call because my mom in particular knew I'd be there. I think she just had the sense. So I went upstairs. We had our bath. Iris was also in Sabah Hall. Had our bath. It was just after I was in my room dressing up when I heard. So the boys, everyone knew my room number. So when you hear somebody screaming your name, it's either your parents is looking or you have a visitor. So I heard them screaming my name, Hillary. Your parents are looking for you. So I went to stand on my balcony. I saw my mom standing there. She just ushered me to come down. I said, I'm in trouble. So I got downstairs, and then my father was driving. My mom was in front. My grandmother was at the back. And my father just told me to sit in the car. So I sat in the car. My father was quiet. My mom just started. You were at the stadium, da, 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 da. And I said, how did she know? She said, I know. Immediately we got here, the boys were saying you went to the stadium. Da, da. My mom, listen, she was so angry. You could understand her. She said, you know, people have died. This. You like football too much.
They will say,
And so my dad was quiet because my mom had just taken over. And she was traveling the following day with my grandmother. And she said, so if something had happened to you, I couldn't have traveled. She went on, shouted, insulted. So my father said, okay, so right now it's happened, but she's fine. So let's allow her at least. Listen, me that day, right from when I was just crying. The tears were just coming for people who had died, for Iris. So then my mommy asked who I went with. I said, Iris. And then she said, how is she? I said, she's okay. She's also upstairs. I said, Mumba Stadium. Listen, she talked and talked. My father said, yeah. You know, so they gave me money, and then they went. My father just signaled me that he would call me later because my mom didn't even allow anybody to talk. And so yes, I was part of it. But
so when you saw on TV the extent of...
Listen, I think that was what even led me to become more emotional, watching how bodies conveyed, and Herbert, I think, was even helping out with some of the bodies at 37. I said, God. And there was one guy who died on campus. I think there was one casualty from Legon. And I knew the guy. It was terrible. He was in Akwafo Hall. I think he was, a Kotoko supporter. And it was just terrible. I think he was a Hearts of Folk supporter. Terrible. I knew his girlfriend was on our floor, and it took a long time. Listen, a really long time to get over.
You going to the stadium?
It did.
Parents allow you to
it did. I mean, I think after May 9th, it took me, I think, about 2 years.
Wow.
I just withdrew from going to the stadium. That whole thing, I think, even till today, has affected turnout, because at the back of people's minds, you don't know what is going to happen if there's a wrong decision by a referee, and how, you know, people are going to take it up and react, you know. So it took me, I think, about 2 years to recover, and even for my parents to say, okay, now you can start going to the stadium again. It was really a black day for Ghana football. We really hope that it doesn't occur again. And kudos to my brother Leneka. I think he saved my life, because at that point I probably would have been stuck in that stampede somewhere, because I was going to join a lot of the guys who were running, and that was really where the stampede had occurred. So I'm so grateful to him for that day. A lot of lessons for both teams, the administrators, the police. I think there were so many facets, lapses, you know, the referee, media, so many things that we all needed to come together and ensure that it didn't occur again. And we are hoping.
And since that, you know, that time, I meet you at the stadium a lot. Even though the architecture of the stadium has changed,
Yes.
do you still get flashback anytime you walk into that class?
In probably Kotoko Hearts games, where you probably see one section of the fans not happy with the decision, and maybe you quickly see some section starting the insults, you quickly go back. It can literally flash, because I remember how that Ishmaelado goal came, and quickly the Kotoko guys got very agitated about it, because they didn't think it was a penalty. So sometimes, even now, when you watch Kotoko has games and you see something like that, it quickly takes you back, but you quickly pray that that doesn't occur.
Then you must be a very brave woman, because I remember about 3 seasons ago, same Hassan Kotoko.
Yeah.
I was in there when he called me to get one of the security guys to open a gate for you at the other side.
Yes.
Because they had closed the gate.
They had closed. Yes.
That's brave, because we've gone through all this and still the stadium closed down, but it's still how to find a way of getting in the stadium.
I think that's passion, right? When you love the game and you also love a team, like some of us do, you get to the stadium and you can't go back. You feel like you've come here, you have a ticket, you should be allowed to
watch the game.
You know, to watch the game. And so, as for the passion, I think it will forever be there. My mom understands that her daughter is crazy about the game. She always wants us to be sure that we are okay and protected, so that obviously whatever happened in May 9th doesn't occur again. Yeah.
All right, so enough of the May 9th, enough of the football talk. Let's talk about your how you got into HR, for instance, and your experiences so far. I'll ask a very simple question. What do you guys always ask? What's your value? How much will you take? And how should we answer that when we are asking during interview sessions?
I mean, it's really up to you to sell yourself when you're at an interview. That's where your negotiation skills should come up. If you know your worth, I think that if someone from talent acquisition is asking you or is interviewing you, or any other person within the HR space plus your line, they ask you that question, they really want to see you sell yourself there. And so that is where you say, okay, you tell us, listen, this is what I'm on, or this is what I feel is the value I'll bring in this role. So anything around, you should be able to convince us. And one thing I tell candidates when they go for interviews is, if you know your worth, you don't back down on what you're asking for. If the organization really thinks you are the best fit for the role, trust me, they'll come back. Yes. And so sell yourself. There are some roles that already comes with the budget and the role.
This is how much you are.
So, yes. So for roles like that, you already know. So at that point in time, you know whether it's within what you are also looking for. If it's below it, then you may not even bother. But once you come in for roles where you are not sure what the salary range is, you should be able to sell yourself. Because one thing I'll tell you, within the HR space and within the talent total rewards or compensation departments of HR, is that they have points ranges for salaries. Yeah. So in every role, there's the midpoint, there's a high point, and there's a low point, but it's all within that range. Sure. So if you are selling yourself within that range, and they really feel like what you're asking for is within, why not? They'll give it to you. So sell yourself, negotiate well, and make sure that if you are someone who's about to add value, you are entering with the salary that you think you deserve.
So how did you get into HR?
So through my mother. My mom, again, so she came to do her master's on campus. We were in Legon then, and she did HR. And so I remember when I'd come home, we vacate, and I'd come home and she was reading, she was learning for exams. I sometimes sit with her and she would have the HR books, and then I'll be reading while she was reading. And I think there was one time she made a remark about why don't you do HR? I think you have the skill sets, and for HR, you know how the perception out there is that you should be humane, you should be compassionate, and my mom thought that I had that, and so she encouraged me. And as I read, her books with her, I sort of started getting more interested in what HR was about, and it was about people, right? People and culture, and how you manage them in an organization. And after Legon, I went to do my master's, and I did it in HR.
HR, okay.
Yes, but
so that's where you specialized.
Yes, when I started Legon, though, it was law that I wanted to do, and within first year up until fourth year, when I think my mom came to do her master's when I was in third year. She had changed my mind from the law.
From law to HR.
But law is still something that I think I'll do.
Wow.
Yes, I want to do it.
Wow.
Yeah. We'll get there. We'll take it one at a time. But yeah. I'm planning to get it done. Fingers crossed. Hopefully, I'll start next year.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the first year. So, so what are some of the difficulties you've encountered? Was in your professional life, for instance?
That's a good question. In HR, right? Listen, one thing I tell people is HR is a thankless job. There are lots of people who I'm trying to choose my words. Even in organizations, some leadership, senior leadership, do not value HR, even till today. They don't see the strategic importance of HR. But I can tell you that any organization that values HR really grows and achieves or they end up being really successful fast, because HR is such a crucial part of the vision and the mission of an organization. And so for us,
basically running the talent in the organization.
It's all about the people. Like I said earlier, if you look at the COEs within HR, you're looking at talent acquisition, which is recruitment. You're looking at developing the employee within their journey in that organization, which is talent development. And within talent development, there's workforce planning, there's succession plan. All these things are developing the employee, the talents that you have. And so if there are talents within your organization you don't want to lose, you have to rely on your HR to make sure they are in there through their salaries, through developing them. It's a whole lot. It's a big chain, that HR space. And so if you're an organization where you are not bringing HR to your meetings, to your senior leadership meetings, to your board, listen, you end up always struggling one way or the other. So for me, I've said HR is a thankless job. There's so many people who do not even at the back end know what we do for them in organizations, and those are sometimes where it hurts, because you do stuff for employees, but they may not even know.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that are things that within the HR space you probably see, even in salary ranges and salary templates. It's funny, but HR professionals are not the highest end in terms of payments. And so you also, again, it goes back to what I was talking about, how they are perceived, and how senior leadership also accepts that this is a big space. I really need good people in my HR space in the organization to thrive. And so we end up doing a lot for organizations, but a lot of the times employees see us as being against them, and that's really not the case.
Just coming to that, employees see that you are always on the side of the
leadership.
Employees. So yeah, we always have something against HR.
And listen, it's never a win-win, because leadership also sometimes tend to think like that we are always on the side especially in conversations around compensation and stuff like that. And so you never win, because employees also think, oh, HR man can be my aim, but it's really not the case. If you people are privy to conversations and battles and fights within that space, you really understand that, look, there's a lot that goes on in there. But so far, it's a journey that I would do again. Yes, I've learned a lot within the HR space. It's opened my understanding to areas where I didn't even think, and I've also through HR moved from different industries, right? I've done oil and gas.
We'll come to that. We'll come to the Springfield journey. We'll come to where you all are now. All the others. I'm in conversation with Madam Hilary Boaten, chairperson of the Women's Premier League. We go for a quick break. We'll be back to do more here on the show. Welcome back from the break. I'm in conversation with Madam Hilary Boaten. We've talked about her upbringing. We've talked about HR. And she's given us some very interesting perspective about HR. I'm sure I will not have issues with my HR again. Because now I know that she's fighting for me in the boardroom. But your journey from, obviously an HR practitioner, but you've worked with different companies in different sectors. So your first company and the current company you're working with, I know, but I want our viewers to know how far you've come in your journey as a HR.
Yes. So after my master's in the UK, I did 1.5 years in the UK in terms of that. So after obviously national service is aside that. So my national service I did at Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and then from there I got a scholarship to go and do my master's. So after that I started in the telecommunications. That's what I did in the UK industry. So I worked with a company called Avantel. So they were third-party dealers for Orange and O2. So
in the UK.
In the UK. And I did more of HR and customer service for them for 1.5 years. Really good organization. They were Jews. Really liked me a lot. So let me give you a story in there. So they were the first. So 2 guys who were in the sales department had their grandfather, so they were Spurs supporters, but their granddads were Arsenal support. So they got me.
Interesting house.
Yes. So they got me. A lot of the Jews in UK are Spurs supporters, by the way. People don't know, but and so yes, and very wealthy guys, and so they got me a VVIP ticket to watch Arsenal versus PSV Eindhoven. It was just when we had moved to the Emirates
from Highbury.
From Highbury, and this was 2015. 2016. I'm not sure, but within that range. And so they took me. They are Spurs supporters, but they took me. They had to take me. And listen, VVIP, where we were seated, you could see Wenger. I literally could touch Arsene Wenger, and I was just sitting there saying in my head, "Hey, it's Ikayede," And so bless them.
Yeah.
So it was actually through that organization that I went to the Emirates
for the first time.
For the first time through my colleagues. They saw how passionate I was about Arsenal, and so they said, Hilary, I remember the day they were even telling me that they were taking me to, they said, Hilary, we have a surprise for you. And I said, what is the surprise? And I think so this was 2016, because it was around the time when I was about to resign. I told them that I was coming back to Ghana. They didn't want me to come. And so they said,
that's a bold decision.
Yes. And so they said, Hilary, we have a surprise for you. We'll tell you later. Kept on pulling them. Tell me. They said, we'll tell you. So when they got the ticket, that was when they came and said, surprise. I was so I didn't know how to react. They picked me up after work. We all drove to the Emirates. Beautiful stadium. When I entered, I said, wow. So this is Arsenal. This is Emirates. It was new then. It was. I remember that game. It was a draw. we ended up not qualifying for the next stage, and but I will always remember them for that kind gesture. And so from there I relocated to Ghana. And so when
I was
I
saying it's a
came,
bold decision to leave the UK. Good
yes,
job to come to Ghana.
yes, well, so I think I'm a different breed from people who want to go abroad. I like my country a lot, and so so that it was tough. They took me to driving school, so I learned how to drive under their tutelage. They paid for it. They really did everything for me to stay. And but then I'd made up my mind that with my masters, I felt like Ghana was the place for me. There were more opportunities here, and so I explained to them that I just want to come grow my HR base here, and then if there was an opportunity to return back to return to the UK, I would. And so that was the idea behind it. My parents were also for it, me coming back to look for. But the funny thing is, I came to Ghana in 2016 December. 2016 no 2017 December, and I stayed at home for I think 9 months
Without a job.
without a job before I started. So before I got L'Oreal, and then my Ghana employment journey also started. Yes, so it wasn't easy, and that is when you start hearing the voices. Why did you
Why did
come
you come?
back? You had a good job.
Why did
They
you
had
come
paid
back?
for your driving school and all that. But hey, I guess it was all part of the experience. And so I did. So telecoms from the UK, I came into the cosmetics industry sector. From there, I evolved into GE. So GE had a lot of that's General Electric, different sectors, different businesses. There's oil and gas, healthcare, aviation, energy. So did that for 5 years. Did L'Oreal for almost 2 years, and then I moved from there back to the UK because I had gotten married then. For a while, came back to Ghana when my dad wasn't well, and did the construction and energy real estate sector again for another 2 years. Came to Springfield for 4 years, which is the upstream oil and gas space. And now I'm in the developmental non-for-profit space, which is my first time ever. So learning a lot about foundations and so far so good. Yeah.
It's no surprise from the whole narration. You get into football is not a surprise at all. But when you were offered the job to manage the Women's Premier League, we all know the difficulties in there. This is not the men's football. Maybe the men's football have their own difficulties.
Yes.
And you're talking about women's football in Ghana.
Yes.
Why did you decide to take it, first of all? And looking back, do you have regrets?
Not regrets. No regret at all, Mohine, at all. Listen, that whole appointment came as a surprise to me, and I tell people that I wasn't expecting it. I never lobbied for it, and so when it came, I said, "Wow." I was at that point known more for the men side of things, my passion for Kotoko, for Arsenal and male football. But I took it as an opportunity to obviously grow my understanding in the women's game. And I think that it's been really enlightening since 2019 November till now. That space needs a lot of visibility, needs a lot of attention, and I'm glad that I've been able to help the best that I can, bring a lot more light in there. Still a lot of room to be, needs a lot of improvements needed. However, I think that if you look globally at the women's game and where it's going, even where FIFA is trying to move it to, I think that we all need to scale up and scale up quickly and give the women the sort of attention that we are giving the men, because it's already thriving in Europe, it's thriving in the Americas. We all know, we can go
There's
on and
equal
on.
pay, and they're
There's
filling their
equal,
stadiums. They're watching games.
absolutely. And even from the 2019 World Cup, we saw the attendance, and now the UEFA Women's Final, we saw the attendance. We saw in UK now when Arsenal played Spurs yesterday, cracking numbers. It's everywhere. Barca played Real Madrid, and it's the women's game has really risen. and it has grown leaps and bounds. And so in the continent, we see what the likes of Morocco, South Africa are also doing for their women, and we want to get there, right? And so I think that I wouldn't pinpoint any regrets at all. I think it's rather been enlightening. It's an enlightening journey. A lot of work, like I said, needs to be done still, but I think we are on the right path to getting there. So no regrets so far.
You know, talk about the women's game, the compensation bit of it for our players, the difficulties they go through.
Yeah.
How then do we get to a point where it is global? It's not just here in Ghana.
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
I've seen some of the transfer letters sent to my club, and I was like, you know, I mean, it's laughable.
Peanuts, eh?
Virtually, yeah. So how then do we move from where we are, the amateur levels, into the professional levels where they can earn a living from playing football?
That's a great question. That's a great question. I think that we need to start with ourselves. I'm talking about the club owners, the administrators, and be forthright to say, look, if you want to own a club, a women's club, you must have a certain budget. Just being fair, and let these girls who are now coming out boldly to say football is my career know that there's money in there. At least they go, they play for the club, and they know that at the end of the month they're taking home $100. Let's put a lot of structure around our budgets. I'm talking about club owners. Let's do a bit more. They're doing a lot. Listen, kudos to the female club owners. I keep on saying it, that they've done well so far. They may not be paying, a lot of them may not be paying, but what they're doing is they're providing support, maybe accommodation, food, even school fees at the background. Some of the owners, some of even the coaches take care of the girls when they are going to school. So that you can't take away, and they're doing that on a constant basis, even after the season is over. They go to their owners like they are their dads or their moms and expecting them to take. So why don't we scale up the conversation around every club maybe getting sponsorship? Because that is where, you know, so speaking about this is roping into that CAF directive where it is saying that male clubs
should have a female if you want to play in their competition.
If you want to play in their competition, because then what happens is quickly we then become like the likes of England, where you see Arsenal has their female and male.
Even to recently,
Spurs,
United didn't have, but now they have.
Manchester has, they all have, and so Aston Villa. Once we get to that level, I see that Accra has they've just bought a Division 1 club, and it's great to see. We want to see the likes of Kotoko and every other club, Adriana, buy clubs, female clubs, and then the support, or at least support a female club financially, so that we know that at the end of every month, these girls are going home with something. Or that is my major concern, because we are seeing so much exodus, which is a good thing, but also affecting the clubs here. Last season, we saw exodus in Hazakes right after they had gone to the Champions League and gone all the way to the finals. And then what happens? Of course, the stars will go because there's money there versus here. And then it depletes the club, at least for a season. And we saw that it affected Hazakes. It is happening to Ampem Dakwa now. It's going to happen to other teams. Even Berry lost some players as well.
To Tanzania and all those places.
Exactly. And it's worrying. So if we have our male clubs really scaling up and coming to the realization that, look, there's money to be made here as well, not just the men. Let's support these clubs. Let's pump some money. Let's get them sponsorship and also bring them up to a place where we are at least, no matter how meager the male footballer's salary is, the female don't have it. So at least even let them get there, even if it's meager, it's a start, versus not paying them at all. Remember when the YEA...
$500 a month during COVID,
they were so grateful for that amount. You see? So I'm even talking about $100, which is more than 1,000 Ghana cedis. At least it's a start. You know, women, we need things for our upbringing and our upkeep. And so for me, I think we should look at the male clubs definitely buying into the female clubs to support them financially, and also the club owners also trying to go out there to fish for sponsorship, not just wait for the FA alone. That is needed, but even when it's not coming, you should also be able to say, oh, Apimdakwa got a sponsorship for them. Candy Ladies got sponsorship. Hazakes has gotten Berry, Faith, Police, and that in itself will bring a lot more interest in the women's game. So for me, we need to have that conversations around the club owners doing a bit more in terms of seeking for the right sponsors. It's difficult because you go to organizations. I've been to, as I sit here, I've been chasing one organization for 2 years. Of course, I can't mention their name, but it's always the CEO's out. I've been just, all everybody is telling me is wait till he comes. He's in South Africa today, he's here. I'll go. I'll make sure I get the money, but it takes a long time. I don't know if that same thing happens for the men. But I feel like when it comes to the women, we have to do extra. You know, and we need even corporate Ghana to begin to see how the growth of the women's game, where it has gotten to, and where
and the potential
it has, right?
There's also a conversation about also collaborating with the security services to have more clubs, or even corporate Ghana, because there used to be Gattel ladies across the country.
Yes.
So is that also a strategy you guys are?
It's one thing we've had a lot of conversation around, and like you said, with the security institutions, one thing you are assured of is employment. The organization or the security institution will at least offer you that. Recently, I've seen that Ruth of Police Ladies has just become an officer, and it's good to see. We know the likes of Fafali, Nanama, they are all.
There's a girl who left our club to
yes, and she's also exactly, she's an officer now, and so at least then you know that every month they'll make money, you know. So if it should go into, like you're saying, Gattel used to do that as well. So even in the telcos, right, MTN, Vodafone, they should look at, you know, supporting through that. If you don't want to support the entire 20 club, maybe start by putting together your own club and then pumping money in there for them. So it's definitely a conversation we are having, and we'll see how it goes.
It's been amazing having a conversation with Madam Hilary Boaten here on the conversation on ETV Ghana. My name once again is Ohene Bampo. I'll see you again next week for yet another edition. Have a good day, have a good week. Of course, keep the faith going. We'll see you. Good night. Bye-bye.